Welcome back to the channel, everybody. You've probably been noticing that digital marketing is taking over commercial real estate. And if you want to be successful in this industry, you better know how. And I've got two people who are going to tell us how to do that. I got Casey Flannery. She's with Foundry Commercial out of Nashville. She's a top industrial broker there. And then we got the man, the myth, Ken Ashley. He's the executive director at Cushman and Wakefield in Atlanta. Thank you guys for coming on today.
Thanks
Great
for
to be
having
here,
us, Joe.
Joe.
You guys know a little bit about social media marketing, don't you? I'm
Been
anxious
doing
to
it
pick your
quite
brain.
some time.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
anxious to pick you guys' brain today because I think in our industry, it's exploding, right? You're seeing a lot of agents getting on board with social media. And I don't know, there's really been no guidelines of it. Now, Ken is also the founder of CREI Summit that's going next week, right, Ken?
Right.
I want to touch on that at the end. And I believe you got a little surprise for all of our viewers. So I'm anxious to talk about that. But we'll close out with that. So
Okay.
let's dig right in. Casey, what is your favorite platform?
So I started on Twitter, I think back in 2016 or 2015, and started building a following there back when nobody was really on social. There were a couple originals, veterans in commercial real estate that knew the value of using social that I found on Twitter. They had been on or started in like 2009, right when Twitter came out, and then I joined for I joined for business in 2015, 2016. But I've really seen an increase in commercial real estate brokers jump on Twitter after following the pandemic. Pre-pandemic, I would say there was maybe a handful of us. Now it's very saturated with commercial real estate brokers who are utilizing Twitter for business and sharing information.
Yeah, the retweet community and CRE fam community. I can get on there. What I'm learning after all these years in business, I'm like, oh man, I didn't think about that. So you really can learn a lot on Twitter. Very powerful. Now, tell us a little bit. I know you've got a podcast, and you're not going to bring it up unless I make you bring it up. So tell us a little bit about it.
So I would say when we got on Twitter, Melissa Alexander, my partner and friend here in Nashville, we had started what we called CRE chat or hashtag CRE chat, and we would post questions regarding what's trending in commercial real estate, and anybody on Twitter would just respond to their answer and use hashtag CRE chat at the end so anybody can see and follow it. But we did start CRE Chat Live podcast, and it would recap everything that everybody had discussed on the CRE Chat that Thursday, the once a month when we were hosting it. So it was really a recap. If nobody was on Twitter, we shifted to podcasting to reach a larger audience that could listen to our podcast and also hear about CRE Chat and what everybody is saying about that particular trend that we covered.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and she does an amazing job with it, her Melissa. So Ken, what is your favorite platform?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I think of it as the metaphor of like a carpenter, and you're asking a carpenter what is his favorite tool. It depends on the project. And, I look at the voice. The voice of someone that would consume what I'm saying and thinking online. So for me, LinkedIn is a great business platform. I like to, find people, to look up people, but also to communicate there because I realize executives are there and consuming LinkedIn. But what I've also found is, as you and Casey have referenced, Twitter is a great community. I've made some real friends on Twitter, people that I invest with, people that have become true friends in real life. I've stayed in their homes, they've stayed in mine, all through that wonderful platform. And the other great thing about Twitter is there's sort of real-time thinking of what's happening in our industry. So reading conventional media is okay, we all do it, but I can read a tweet stream or a thread and walk into a meeting with an executive and say, listen, this is a couple hours old. This is what people are thinking right now. The third area would then be the social of the socials, Facebook and Instagram. And what I like about that is you can tell a story about yourself and your family, and in my case, my wife and kids I love very much, and allow people to get to know me more than just a one-dimensional business guy. So I like all three.
I think people need to realize if you really want to market on these platforms, do your best job. Each one has a different personality. Twitter and LinkedIn, two different personalities. Instagram, Facebook, fairly similar, but and then you throw in TikTok. That and are either of you on TikTok?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you utilize it pretty well, or is that something you kind of just go on to look at?
Something I could probably learn to use a little bit better. Right now, how I use it for work is just recording short video snippets of properties that we have. So I can send a link to a video rather than recording, putting it together. I kind of have the editing feature within TikTok, and
Mhm.
you can copy and paste the link from a web browser and send it in an email. It just makes it a little bit easier on editing rather than uploading video. I can do it right from my phone with TikTok. So I've been doing that a little bit.
Yeah. Now, oh, go ahead, Ken.
And I was just, so for me, it's just a fun project at this point. And no, I don't dance. So
Are you sure about that?
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, we'll see about that next week. Get a
That's
few
right.
drinks
Joe,
in,
there
and
is
get
there
the
is one
music
thing
going.
I want to add. Ken
Mhm.
had mentioned using LinkedIn for finding CEOs, CFOs,
Mhm.
decision makers. I think LinkedIn has improved tremendously over the years. I feel like when I first got on, I mean, LinkedIn back many, many years ago in college, it was very like old school in a sort type of way. It wasn't very user friendly. It was hard to navigate, hard to see what was going on. Now they have improved tremendously. But also with that said, that there were also decision makers on Twitter as well. You have the CEOs of company who have Twitter, who interact, who tweet out information and things. So that was another way to utilize Twitter and social networks, is just to get and have like tweet at a decision maker or private message them. But LinkedIn has improved so much over the years that that is definitely the primary way to reach people.
Yeah, I had a guy by the name of Martin Murtaugh, and I did a video with him, and he is a LinkedIn, I won't say influencer, but he does this, that's pretty much what he is, I guess. But setting your LinkedIn up right. So we've gone in with a bunch of our agents. You can go on to Commercial Brokers International and check out George Pino, Ari Mancias, Young Lee, and see how they've done their headers. It really shows you can go on to LinkedIn and see what they do for a living. You don't even have to read anything. You can see what they do, and then they filled out all the information. It's completely filled out. That can help you a lot, because I think we kind of get lazy when we're filling out our profile. We think, oh, let's just fill it up and get it done. Really give that some thought about who am I trying to reach here? And we tend to not do that. So really, I think I'm going to put the video to Martin down below too, so everybody can go to it. It's a little long. It's a little, I said a 15-20 minute video. Martin he's Irish from Ireland. First of all, it's a beautiful accent. So I just listened for quite a while, but the information was incredible, and he just kept going. Matter of fact, I'm going to have him back on here next month. So there's been some updates. So now understanding analytics, I think, is probably the key to growing your community. Are you guys good at going in and reading your analytics and understanding who your audience is and who you're reaching? Or do you just kind of shoot by the hip?
I go back and I look at analytics. So on top of building a brand and have created, our resume, as I think Ken likes to refer to it as, when I go to a conference, that especially a new conference of like 700, 1,500 people, there are so many folks seeking me out that want to talk to me because they know me from being online. So I
Right.
think the measurement in that sort of way doesn't show what you can find through that platform. It's what you find through other people, and of course getting business from it.
Mm-hmm.
But we also utilize social to market our properties, but we're not just doing for sale, for lease, just close. Like it's a lot more than just that. But just even the reach and figuring out a way to tweak it, that it's not just your typical for lease post, can get a lot more impressions, a lot more eyes, and it just creates another way to market your business and your assets that you represent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Agreed.
for me, Joe, I'm not really a big metrics guy. Listen, I'm a real estate broker. I'm trying to establish and maintain relationships that lead to transactions. That's how I
Right.
make my living. That's how that's my role here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to be a social media personality myself. However, a metric that does mean a lot to me, I posted something on LinkedIn yesterday. And when I see a global director of real estate commenting on that, that's what really matters to me, or a CFO or an executive engaging with my content. That's what turns my crank.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. And that's one thing that with these algorithms right now, I'm really finding that being involved with your community and making comments on other people's stuff, and you get people to comment on yours, responding to them. I mean, when somebody responds, unless it's negative, of course, which we get that occasionally, but I go on and thank them for taking the time to come onto my content and making a comment for me, and I respond to it. I think that is something that could really help you drive engagement. A lot of people, they look at, I have this many followers, and I'm like, okay, that's great, but are any of them engaging with your content? And I think that's
Right.
something we need to really take a look at. And that's great that you're getting somebody at that level to be responding to you. Now, do you guys take time to respond back to everybody on every post? Do you really?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
you
a
have
lot.
to interact. It's not just posting and forgetting. You have to interact. People are
Mhm.
responding. They have questions, even if it's just like even something simple like, yes, I totally agree. Like you're not just a face behind a computer. Like
Yeah.
maybe some of, the people who do post the negative things, you're actually, even if it's a negative comment, I think you can still respond to it. You don't have to ignore it, but definitely don't get in any sort of um, you know, argument back and forth. That doesn't look good and it doesn't show well to others. But even just responding like agree to disagree or your point of view, or asking
Yeah.
for more information, I think it's a great way to have conversation, and it's almost small talk, but you're just doing it through text on a social platform.
Yeah. I got a negative comment yesterday, and obviously, I don't know if you even watched the video, but I just said, okay, what data are you looking at? Can you inform us? No response today, of course, but you'll get those negative comments. I do have one funny story. So this guy came on, obviously hadn't watched my video about a year ago, makes this negative comment, and all of a sudden I start seeing all these comments going back at him. I get a phone call that evening saying, call your dogs off. And I'm like, what is he talking about? So I go on and I look. My followers went on and went after this dude. He made the negative comment because he wanted them to go to his YouTube channel. And so I just thought that was the funniest thing ever. So if you can build a community that's really passionate about what you're doing, that's huge. I got a really good chuckle out of that. I was very thankful for everybody who took the time to comment and go after this dude. So yeah, it was, building that community is why we're on here, right? So you got to
Mhm.
be part of it. If you get somebody commenting, it's like going to a big extravagant party and standing in the back of the room. You got to get out and mingle. You got to be seen and be part of it. So um, what's getting harder and harder is to differentiate yourself. Now, what do you guys do to differentiate? I can't even say the word today. Differentiate yourself from other brokers.
Well, when you say around other brokers, with all due respect to my many friends who are brokers,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried about the eyeballs that are brokers. What I'm worried about are occupiers and end users and executives. And so I think it's just the way I would attempt to differentiate is the way that I think. My marketing is different. You usually won't see me post a deal done kind of thing. It's
Right.
just because the occupiers that I think about, the CFOs and directors of real estate, they're sort of mildly interested. Hey, great, Ken closed a deal, but it doesn't mean anything to them. What everybody cares about is trends and real time thinking about what's happening. And it could be whatever the hot topic is: financing, return to office, use of office, landlords. And so I carry around, well, on my iPhone, a little notepad. And at any one time, I have about 10 things that are rolling around in my brain that I'm going to write. Like yesterday's the lonely Uber driver. And I'll tell you, Joe, a quick story. I wrote a piece called "The Rise of the Badge Pirates," which is based on a true story of employees at a particular company that were showing up, hitting their badge, and then leaving. So they got recognition for attending work, but they didn't really go.
Right.
I got a call from the Wall Street Journal and got interviewed last week based on a LinkedIn post. So it's incredible. I'm not, when you ask about differentiation, to me, that's the differentiation, is when a reporter like that picks up the phone.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's something Melissa Alexander, my co-host, and I had picked up on early on with our CRE chat on Twitter, was that we're talking about these topics and these trends, and reporters who are on social and looking for a story, that they reach out to us and interview us for their story, whether it is the Wall Street Journal, Globe Street, CoStar, any of those groups, business journals, they're asking us questions and interviewing us for their stories because of what
Yep.
they saw us post online. And it wasn't just a for sale or just closed deal. It's about what is trending and the stories behind it that we're telling and the media is picking up on.
Yeah. Well, and to get those calls is great, but if you're somebody new in the industry and you're putting this out and get the call, you better know what you're talking about because it's easy to post, right? But one thing that you guys do that I don't know if you guys have ever picked up, you guys are very good about showing all sides of your life. I mean, Ken, I know about Andy because of being on.
My dog. Yep.
I don't know if Andy's there with you now or not, but
Nope. We're at work. He's at
oh,
home
okay.
asleep.
All right. No Andy today. He's the cutest little dog ever. And
Thank you.
Casey, I've seen, we were talking earlier before he came on. She was on a ranchette. I knew about it. And that was my passion. So being individual, that is something that's going to set you apart. And I think it's key to, you're going to find something that's a commonality with somebody else. So I think just being yourself is the key to doing this and doing it right.
Well, thank you,
And
Joe. And I want to say you do such a fabulous job. You share so much with the community, and you're really out there. I'll never forget the first time we met at Lake Tahoe, and I went up to shake your hand, and we just bonded from the first time we met. And I've watched your career rise and all of the good things that you're doing, and really the service that you provide to this community through spending all this time doing interviews just like this one. So,
Well,
thank you for being out there and supporting the community.
Oh yeah, I love this community. I think, and a lot of it's, Ken is the founder of Commercial Real Estate Influencer, something I'm going to touch on here in a minute. But this community is a powerful community, and everybody is so supportive of each other. And I think that is the thing that I love the most. Is it used to be, and Casey, you might be a little too young to remember this, but it was just you kept your cards close to your chest. Just not that many years ago, nobody talked about it. You didn't help the other broker out because they're competition. Man, you talk about a change.
Yeah.
Everybody here is. I mean, one of our agents the other day, her deal fell out. And she knew another agent that was interested in it, and she called him up and said, "Hey, this is going to fall out. You should get your client in there." And he goes, "Let me work you on the referral." He goes, "It was an off-market deal," and so that wouldn't have happened just a few years ago.
Yeah, Joe, and can I say that what you're unpacking is something we're going to talk about the summit,
Yeah.
and that is that an abundance mentality is a real cheat code to a happy life.
Yes.
That if we try to keep everything to ourselves, the competitive issue is not the idea, it's the execution of the idea. And because we share ideas, actually, really amazing things happen to you if you lead with the thought of giving. And that's a culture that I know Casey and you and I are all trying to change in our industry, that we actually, it's okay to help a competitor because we're all human beings. And, there's enough business for everyone.
I agree. Giving without expectation, I just think there's such a value in that. And I think that is something, that we as content creators, you got to think about, what is valuable for my community, the people that are following me. And, I just think that, you've got to find your platform that works best for you. Now, are you guys you're on all platforms, right? But you're more focused on one particular one?
Casey?
Yeah, I would say I'm about at least have a presence on every one of them, whether it's personal or professional, but also always in the back of my mind of how can I use a platform professionally, and not just stick to kind of what's maybe trending and won't resonate with the audience that I want to reach. I mean, I don't know if there's a room for commercial real estate brokers on something like Snapchat. I know Clubhouse was big. Facebook is kind of becoming back into conversation again
Yep,
for us.
it is.
So I'm very interested to learn about all these different platforms and how we can utilize them and what works best at the summit. It's a lot of trial and error as well, but I think everybody has some good ideas on how they can utilize new social platforms that pop up and best to use best practices for what already exists.
Yeah.
Well,
Ken?
Joe, you may know I'm a millennial, so I'm very much. Hey, that's not funny.
Sorry. I'm still on the oil of a leg kick.
That's right. That was something we talked about before. But the conventional platforms. But something about my family and I have had fun with is Be Real, which is once a day, no filter, double side of your camera post. And I don't do a lot of folks, but they're just a handful of people. It's kind of fun because Be Real notifies you at the same time, or a different time, but everybody on the network gets notified at the same time. It's kind of fun to see what your kids and family are doing. That's a fun one.
Oh yeah. It's you're gonna have to, and I think this is something younger generation can go and take over a market is getting on social media, putting your marketing out there. I think it's going to allow younger generation to get involved in commercial real estate and really take over a market. I think if you get in, you do it right. Obviously, you don't want to stop doing the traditional cold calling and networking and all that, but you got to do everything. And I really think it's gonna help our industry a lot. I just think it's going to
Yeah.
be very powerful.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because we'll just take a second to chat about this. Social media is not a vending machine. You don't
Right.
put in a tweet and get a deal out, at least not for most people who are selling high level professional services. But social media is that tool that we talked about earlier. And there are two things, in my opinion, in business development you have to do in our industry to be successful. One is sales, and that is the calling, and sales is speaking and listening with the intent to convince. Every broker ought to be able to do that, or you need to find a different profession. What we're focused on at CREI Summit is the harder thing to do, which is marketing. And marketing is what they think about you before you walk in the room. And that's where social media is so powerful to create another dimension to you and Casey and me and everyone in our industry. If you think about a different industry, so let's think if you were going to hire an attorney or you were going to hire a consultant for your company, frankly, I mean, they're suits. How do you know who they are? How do you know that they have a pug? How do you know they like the Georgia Bulldogs? How do you know anything about them? You don't. And so a lot of what this is creating multiple dimensions to yourself so people can build that trust, hopefully respect for you. They may not always agree with you, but they know that you're present. And the final thing I'll say is it's a little bit of try before you buy. If you want to know who I am, what I think, and what I believe, Google my name. There are a lot of my competitors who no one's ever heard of. So how do you know? There's a big question mark. It's pretty obvious with me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a powerful tool, and I think it's here to stay. And I think it's just going to do nothing but pick up in commercial real estate. But Ken, let's talk a little bit about the Commercial Real Estate Influencer Summit. You're the founder of it. You want to give us a 30-second pop on it, please?
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor to be involved with the CREI Summit. It was really a list that started a meeting. We didn't mean to. We just kind of backed into this, and the list started during COVID when I had a conversation with my good friend Duke Long, who had done a list for a lot of years, and Duke was kind to let me pick up the list. And so I've always loved to recognize people. Napoleon said one time, "I've discovered the most amazing thing: a soldier will die for a nod." And what he meant by that is recognition is a very powerful tool. And I also wanted to create something that was handy in the community. So there was one place you could go to find people who are influential in our business. It's just a save time kind of thing instead of scrolling all over the internet. So we put together the first Twitter list. We created a badge that people were able to promote themselves as being on the list. And then one thing led to another. About 6 months later, our friend Coy Davidson had that famous tweet on a Thursday night after a couple of IPAs. And he said, we ought to get together. And he later said he meant to drink beer. But I heard it differently. And I hired our wonderful event planner who was laid off in COVID from a major commercial real estate services provider. And sort of tilting at windmills, we put together this first summit. You were both there. I'm very thankful for you. You took a chance. And so now we're in year 3, and we're soon going to announce year 4. We're growing in momentum. What you can get as an ROI from attending this summit is the focus on the harder thing to do, which is defining your brand and really getting deep. We've got a workbook for everyone this year. It's experiential learning, and we'll do the same thing next year. So when you come out the other side, You're going to have the experts in our business. There's nowhere else that you can get this. Some of the best are there. You'll establish relationships. And if you want to get to the Joe Killinger level, this is the way to do it.
You might want to shoot a little higher than that. I tell you, the people that I've met there, Casey, Melissa, the whole crew. It's, if I need anything regarding real estate, if I have a question, I can pick up the phone or give a text. I'm going to get a response and I'm going to get an answer that, that is going to be spot on because they know the market. They're the best of the best.
And I want to highlight that the chairwoman this year is here with us, Casey. She's got a great leadership team. Do you want to talk about the program and the team that you put together, Casey?
Yeah, there's a couple of us. We have our committee chairs, of course, sponsorships. So thank you to our sponsors who also make the CREI Summit happen. But Carrie Bob is put on a great content plan. And it really is hands-on, as Ken had said. So we have all different sorts of platforms that you can follow all the way through the program, from starting your profile to creating your content calendar. So whatever platform or social media you want to explore or get to know a little bit better, you can attend any sessions or breakout workshops, as we're calling them. And there'll be a coach leading each of those workshops, and anywhere from starting it in the very beginning, getting ideas, laying your foundation, to a fully baked content calendar at the end of it. So you're really walking away with what you can do when you get back home, or even before you get back home. And there's also a little competition at the CREI Summit, which we will announce there. I don't know how much I can share about it, so I'm going to hold off from saying anything, but it's really about creating content and what resonates with other people. So we're excited for this year. It's a little bit different from the past couple of years, but it's definitely hands-on, a lot of learning, and just a lot of collaboration and sharing best practices, which is why we all get together. Like Joe said, we're all friends now. We share information and we're not afraid to do so.
Yeah, Casey, you and the team have done a great job. I want to highlight Rod Santomasso is going to come talk about AI and how to use it in commercial real estate, what to do, what not to do. Our good friend Bob Knackle is going to come and share with us about his amazing rise. And also on day 2, he and I are going to do a fireside chat, and then he's going to give us a challenge speech, as he and I are calling it. He's an amazing business developer and has a lot of pearls of wisdom. And then Casey and I were just speaking a few minutes ago with Eric Qualman. He's one of our keynotes. He is the author of Socialnomics, which is a formative book for me, and he's done a lot of great things in social media. And Casey challenged us to get someone like Eric, and I'm glad we did, because he's outside of the commercial real estate business. He knows what other companies are doing that are successful in social media and beyond in marketing. So he's going to bring a really challenging address. And everyone who comes is going to get a special pair of Eric Qualman glasses, the green glasses. And we can announce the contest that Casey referenced. We're calling it the Golden Ticket. So if you're there, you have to be on site, have to buy a ticket, and you produce, and there's some judges, you produce the best content about either the summit or our sponsors or both. You're adjudicated to be the winner. You get a free pass to the next year's summit, which we will announce at the summit. It's going to be in a cool hotel in an amazing city.
I can't wait. Also, you have a little, for our subscribers, you got a little discount code?
Yes, Mr. Killinger, adding value to his audience, as always. So we are almost upon the summit. And if you go to www.creisummit.com, you can sign up. A full price ticket is $1,399 plus the junk fees. So today, adding value, if you put in the code, and you can put this in the notes, JOEK10, Joe K10, you get a 10% discount off of that, just for being watching this video and being a loyal supporter of Joe Killinger. And if you have any issues, DM Casey or myself, and we can get you registered. It's going to be an amazing venue, the Wave Hotel in Lake Nona, just outside of Orlando, Florida, which is a boutique hotel full of art, full of technology, and soon to be full of a lot of cool people.
Very cool people that are leading the commercial real estate industry. Now, if anybody has any comments, put it down below. We'll get back to you. And I do hope that if you're watching this and you can make it, use that discount code. We hope to see you there. If you can't make it this year, shoot me a DM and I'll get you on the email list for next year, because this is something you don't want to miss. Ken and Casey are building something very special here for our industry. You don't want to miss it. So Casey, Ken, thank you very much for coming on today. Appreciate it.
This was great. Thank you, Joe. We'll see you next week.
You bet. I'm
Thank
going
you,
to see
Joe.
you guys very soon. Now, if you're watching, thank you for watching. If you could, please give us a like. And if you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe.